but in responsibility. And no one seems to be talking about that for reasons I don't understand. People are starving to hear that, also for reasons I don't understand.
And that he had become suicidal, and that my lectures, he'd watched a lot of them, and that had helped him, guide him through that. And well, I've seen a lot of that, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous. I'm not unhappy about it. I'm not unhappy about it. It's an honor to be able to help people.
It's very peculiar and difficult to desperate story with a happy ending. It's a very private story, but it's not nothing. We're something like a cancer on the planet, and that our activity is unconscionably destructive, and that the best thing we could do is to cease having children and make ourselves scarce. And I think that that's a viewpoint that's cruel and vicious and resentful and appalling, and I buy none of it. Well, I'm a psychologist and a researcher and a professor and an author and a business consultant and a speaker, and I don't know if that's the proper order. I have a family, I have a wife and children. That's me. In a very strange position, traveling the world, I've traveled to 160 cities in the last year and spoken to about 350,000 people about personal responsibility and the meaning that is to be found not in rights, but in responsibility. And no one seems to be talking about that for reasons I don't understand. People are starving to hear that, also for reasons I don't understand. So that's the situation now, and it's a very odd life. Although my name is not, I would say, particularly positive among certain elements of the press. I'm accused of all sorts of things that have absolutely nothing to do with what I believe. But my normal life, such as it is continually punctuated by encounters with people on the street. Dozens a day, if I go outside, of people who tell me that they've watched my videos, they listen to my podcasts, they read my book, they were in desperate straits 6 months ago, they're doing much better. And so they're thankful about that and help and pleased that someone is offering them an encouraging word. So I actually happen to be rather positively predisposed to people. And I think that's rare, because in our culture we believe that we're something like a cancer on the planet, and that our activity is unconscionably destructive, and that the best thing we could do is to cease having children and make ourselves scarce. And I think that that's a viewpoint that's cruel and vicious and resentful and appalling, and I buy none of it. We do the best we can under very difficult circumstances, and we're only barely waking up to our planetary responsibilities, and not doing such a bad job for people who've only figured it out 50 years ago. So I'm trying to offer people some encouragement for their trouble, and they seem in staggeringly desperate need of that. It's very peculiar and difficult to accustom myself to meeting endless parades of strangers everywhere in the world who tell me a desperate story with a happy ending. It's a very private story, and they obviously trust me enough to, first of all, tell me what was wrong, and then let me in on the fact that things have improved dramatically because they've developed a vision for their life, and because they've decided to marry their girlfriend, and because they've decided to have a family, finally, and to settle down and to work at their career, even though they may just have a job, and to tell the truth, and that's working. And so they're very pleased about that. And so, maybe, I don't know what the proper reaction to receiving information like that on a rather random basis is, but it's not nothing.
I can usually figure out what you're up to, and in any case, when people approach me, so I can see reasonably deeply into them, and they usually approach me in a pretty open manner, so they're not defended, but it's a lot of emotional weight. I mean, I had somebody called me this week. He just got my number sort of randomly, and he said, "Who is this?" I answered the phone. He said, "Who is this?" I said, no, who is this? Since he was calling me. And he said, he told me his name. He said, "Are you Dr. Peterson?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Really?" And I said, yes, really. And he just burst into tears, and he just sobbed for 5 minutes uncontrollably, apologizing. And then he said his grandmother had died, and his mother.
I thought that I was doing it on myself. But I knew who it was.
And that he had become suicidal, and that my lectures, he'd watched a lot of them, and that had helped him, guide him through that. And well, I've seen a lot of that, and that's dangerous. It's dangerous. I'm not unhappy about it. I'm not unhappy about it. It's an honor to be able to help people. Really, it's a privilege, and I'm thrilled that that's what's happening. But by the same token, it's a lot to see. I have to be very careful to see all that and to be able to handle it. And it's very dangerous, because if I make a mistake of any sort, I'm in so much trouble. So I have to walk very carefully.
So, and obviously you mentioned there you've been through this awful illness recently, but also in your life, reading your books, you can tell that, or people will know that you've been through difficulties like anyone else. But I think in particular you've had some very tough times, and people will be wondering, how did you get through these moments? How did you get through this recent illness? What kept you going? Because if you read about what happened to you, it just sounds like hell on earth.
It was unbelievably bad, and it was complicated by the fact that my wife was also very ill during part of that, and so was my daughter. And also, I was under extremely brutal political attack pretty constantly. So it was a perfect storm in some sense. How did I get through it? I have some answers to it. My family has been unbelievably helpful to me, unbelievably supportive. My parents, my extended family, my wife, my daughter, my son, that they've been behind me 100%. And my friends as well have gone above and beyond the call of duty for me in a way that just staggered me as well. So helpful to me. I mean, I had a good friend of mine from college, and we stayed in touch over the years, but not as intensely as we were roommates in college, way back in northern Alberta, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And he walked with me every day for 5 months, like 5 miles a day, literally 5 miles a day, because I couldn't sit still. I had to walk, and that's just one example. Many people went way out of their way for me, and then there was tremendous public support too, which was also very helpful. When my wife was extremely ill, there were people writing all the time that they were praying for her, and my sister printed out a lot of those and put them up on the hospital wall, and like all of that. It was other people really, really saved my life, and the people who've been watching me online were part of that, because they were so helpful and so offering words of encouragement. And